This is Electric Universe Eyes, and today I'm back with part 2. And the water has dried up quite a bit. It's soaked into this mud, so this go around is going to be more of a dry nature. So I expect a lot of drying, cracking, popping, cratering. Perhaps we'll get some little seething plasma rivers going. So I've got my microscope back out, and as you can see, this is what that surface looks like after it's soaked back in with some water. But the features are quite interesting. So I think I'll capture a little bit of microscope action before we set this off. What I'm also going to do is add that fourth screw so that I can attach my 3000 volt transformer and have that running in tandem with my 10,000 volt transformer and get my vacuum working again. All I got to do is get my little jerry rig adapter that plugs in here and hook that up to the vacuum, and then I'm set. So this one's going to be in a vacuum with low water content, and let's see what happens. Force that guy in there. That was my vacuum weak point. All right, so I've done it. It's complete. All right, that's on, and then I'll do the screw, and then we'll hook this guy up to those new leads up at the top, and then we'll dangle them down. One lead from the 10,000 volt transformer, one lead from the 3,000 volts, and over here I've got the other lead from the 10,000 volt and the other lead from the 3,000 volts. And then I've got these wires dangling down inside. So I think for these two, I'm gonna have these grounded in the material, and then these other two, I'll have them dangling just above. So let's get this stuff set up. Whew, all right, so I think I'm there. I've got, again, the two leads on the right, both from different transformers embedded into the mud. And then I've got the one closest to me on the left is the 3,000 volts, and the one on the far side is the 10,000 volts. So the idea here is we've got a 3,000 volt potential on the bottom connection and a 10,000 volt connection running through the mud on the top section. So here's the idea is if we have different potentials discharging from storm systems, how will they interact through the same medium? So for example, these currents that we are saying is like a ring current that's coming out of the ground, connecting to the atmosphere in two different geological areas, but they're connected through the sky and the ground circuit. That's what I am proposing here and wanted to see what happens. This mud has dried quite a bit, but as I put the electrodes in on the right side, definitely is still very wet on the right side. It's more dry on the bottom of our viewpoint here. So anyway, let's try it. Okay, so I did a little rearranging to get both of them to discharge. I went ahead and tested it. I've got both of them working and repositioned them slightly. It's kind of a weird setup, but let's try it. I'm gonna just try it right now. A little 3,000 volts. Now hear it, can't necessarily see it. It's a very slight discharge. I moved the 3,000 volt to the top left in your view. And now the 10,000 volts, the crazy looking one on the left. And there we go. Okay, so this is working. I think what I want to try to do is go ahead and put a vacuum on there. I didn't think of the shrinking though. Dang it. I'm gonna have to lift some of these up. You know what, screw it. We're just gonna run this right now. 3,000 volt, 10,000 volt. This is a normal atmosphere. What happened to that one? There we go. So that's now 3,000 circuit and a 10,000 circuit. I'm gonna go ahead and, just while this is going, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna put the lid on. All right. All right, we're gonna try to turn the vacuum on and see what happens. This, I gotta be careful with how close I get. I can't get too close to these electrodes on top. So, here we go. Let's try to turn the vacuum on. And I see it working, and it's making it go a little wacky. This is a little challenging to film, and I'll say why. It's extremely humid, and it seems like this vacuum is sucking all of the moisture, and it's kind of condensing on the inside, so I'm not sure how long this will last. My vacuum doesn't seem to be so secure though. And that's vibrating the crap out of this. I maybe need to move my vacuum down to the ground. It seems to respond just the same in a vacuum. I'm at about 17 Hg, 17 inches of mercury. Can't tell if the 3,000 volt is discharging anymore. I'm gonna reset it. Yeah, and it had stopped, but now it's going again. Hard to see in there. Just have to hold the phone to get a clear picture, and that sucks. It's really hot in here. I think I'm gonna quit. This isn't a fair test. Before it was mud. This stuff's already kind of dried once. This is discharging over an area that was already discharged to. Which I guess, if you want to say that it flooded multiple times, this would be a fair test, but it seems like the I don't know, the fingers do seem to spread out a lot more. I don't know. I just know it's really hot, and I'm gonna come back and do this later. Before I go today, I found something. This was inside of my my little makeshift tea bottle here, and I had this open, which was supposed to release this, but I think putting a vacuum on there just sucked it back in there. Real dumb. So, the whole point is, it wasn't working anyway, but now it is. Now I've got 20 Hg, 20 inches of mercury, and the electrodes have sunk to the ground. That's what I needed to happen. So now what I'll have to do is make some adjustments so that I still get an arc discharge. You can see these are touching now. It's still arcing to the dry, to the wet portion, but anyway, now I've got everything functional. I've got all 4 leads with 2 transformers hooked up, and I'll come back with a real test next time. So now that we're all set up, again, thanks for hanging. All right, I'm back. Man, let's turn this light on. All right, it's not so hot anymore. So let's do this. Turn the vacuum on. See if I can get that. Here we go, and let's turn on 10,000 volts and 3,000 volts. Electrodes are going to touch, but still discharging, I can see, and we're pulling, it's about 18 inches of mercury currently. Starting to concave in. That's cool. I have to figure out this camera situation though. I'm trying to use this vacuum. So we're at 19 Hg. I'm going to reset 3,000 just to make sure there's no arcing, because both electrodes on the 3,000 are touching, so there is 3,000 volts of current running between those. Well, you know, I say that. Oh, wow! I didn't notice this. Look at that. There's the 3,000 volts electrode right there. That's what it's doing. You see it discharging? That electrode apparently fell out. Ha! Can you see it? I don't know if you can see the blue glow. Let's see if I can get it from this side. Let's see. Come on. Let me turn the light off. There we go. There you go. Look at that. I mean, that's awesome. Well, you know, now that I look at it, that actually might be mud on the outside that it's discharging to the mud. So still making a connection through the mud, even though that's dried. It does have iron particles in it. But that's pretty cool. That's neat. Alright, well, I'm going to leave that there for now. So I still got this guy. Here's what you guys are seeing already. So you can see this condensation building up on the inside here. So what do you think? Does this look any different in a vacuum? I'm pulling about 20 inches of mercury. I was hoping to get up to 22, 23, but just about at 20 inches. This is still pretty cool, so I'm gonna let it run for a little while and see what happens. I'll zoom in here just a tad. So that's that was odd. Oh, it's still making a connection. Wow. Here's what you guys are seeing already. You can see this condensation building up on the inside here. It's still with the vacuum drawing out whatever moisture and gases is being produced from this discharge. I'm having a hard time getting it now. So I'm pulling 20 Hg, about 20 inches of mercury. All right, so I'm gonna take a break now, and what I'll do is, let's turn the vacuum off. I'm going to, while it's discharging, I'm going to break the vacuum. And it's simply disconnecting this Crayola marker connection from my jerry rig here. All right, and I wanna see what happens. Well, let's wait for that flare to stop. Let's suck some of that air out first. All right, that way you can see what's going on here. All right, so as soon as I turn it off, I'm gonna break the connection also, and then see what happens. And I expect this to move quite a bit, so I'll wait until it's discharging nice. Well, it is what it is, let's do it. Here's the air. Well, didn't do much difference. All right, I'm gonna take a break. What I just did, and it looks like it extracted more material. I don't know exactly what that is, but I think that would be a maybe an extraction of the iron. I'm not too sure. I see a bunch of little spherules kind of throughout. Could be from the copper melting or transferring to the clay, melting off of those leads that I had dangling. But that darker stuff is usually what I see every time I discharge to clay. It always seems to gather that material together, and it's always left really shiny and vitreous, bubbly. Sometimes in spheral shapes, sometimes it's got little bubble pockets in it. So that's kind of cool. What next? You know what? Let's just keep going. Let's keep going. All right. So I'm pulling 20 Hg, about 20 inches of mercury. Okay, so now I've got it set up to where I've got the 3000 volt electrodes are on the bottom, both dangling currently, and on the top, the right top one is touching and the other one's dangling. I still have a feeling by the time I get a vacuum, it's going to just touch anyway. So let's find out. You can see it pulsing from it moving, sucking that air out. I'm currently at 15 Hg. All right, and yeah, you can see the electrodes are moving. I don't think that 3000 volt one's gonna be happy doing anything. You know, it could connect with that other electrode up top. Just for kicks, let's turn both of them on and see what happens. Here's 3000. No, well, no, 3000 is discharging. I think it's discharging through that other the other transformer lead that's touching. That's allowing it to discharge, I believe. All right, now we'll turn on the 10,000 volt, and it was discharging to the clay up above for a second. I might have to readjust. Yep, I'm gonna have to readjust the electrodes. So, turn both of these off. Let's kill the vacuum. Let's pop this back. All right, that was a lot. All right, so try again. See, I wouldn't have to deal with this if I had glass. What I'll do is move this guy down here some, and I want him to be away from that. I don't want him to have that kind of influence. So that I think is cool. Maybe this one I'll do something like that. So they're kind of close. We'll just see what happens here. All right. All right. It's probably the best shot I'm gonna get right there. I want my phone to get zapped. All right. Let's turn the vacuum back on. Wait. We're at 10 Hg, 15 Hg. See the sides starting to buckle. Starts really pulling in now. Alright, we're at about 18 Hg. I'll get to 20 and then I'll start it. So I already see all the electrodes are touching except for one of the 3000 volt, but I'm just gonna roll with it. Let's just go. 3000 is on. I see it discharging. It's just discharging through the other transformer ground. And then I turned on the 3000 volt, 10,000 volts, sorry. So that's 10. Now the other part on the left that's touching, that current running through the clay will eventually dry up that clay. And once it's dry enough, where there's a moisture barrier that's outside of the direct touching, it will arc through the air to the wet clay. And so I expect to see that here in a little bit as well. So again, with this, I'm using two transformers, a 10,000 volt AC and a 3000 volt AC, and they're both live. Not quite at 20 Hg, which is disappointing. Got a leak in there somewhere. But it's, well, maybe I just hit it. We just went up to 19. Let's just let this run and see what happens. I just saw it pop out some material. So what it's doing now is leaching water to the underside of this, and that water is soaking into a layer below the surface, and electricity is discharging to it, and it's heating it up like a little plasmoid underneath, and it'll just pop out some surface material. Get a better shot up here. Just can't get too much closer because I was a dummy. I shouldn't have put the electrode where I did, that screw top. Let's turn the lights off, see if we can see it better. Oh yeah, there we go. It's much better. Man, it's so warped. Look at this. All sides caved in. So the top is that way too, so I guess I could hold it. Yeah. Just turn it about. There you go. Kind of. See, I gotta figure this camera situation out. It's hard with a vacuum. But you know, to be honest, I don't know that I see a huge difference in a vacuum versus without a vacuum. But again, earlier I said it's not fair because I'm not doing a vacuum with mud like I started this with. The only difference I see is in an atmosphere, the introduction of more oxygen and other outside wind to influence this. But, I think I'll stop it and reset the electrode positioning. All right, let's let the vacuum out. Whew. Cool. It's probably gonna be hot in there. All right. It's definitely warm in there. Feel the heat coming out. So, you got some condensation out here too. I don't know if you can see it so well, but there's condensation all on the inside here, if you could see that. So if there is a discharge happening here and it's evaporating off water, it's shaping the land, it's creating an atmosphere. Not sure where I'm going with that, but just one thing I'm noticing, every time I do something with clay and earth materials, water is the key. The water will evaporate and condense somewhere else. So again, that's how I look at our sky. I'm gonna adjust some of these here. I freak out. I always have to make sure that this stuff is off. That red light's bad, death. So I always double check that because I don't want to die. And if you're watching this, don't play with electricity because it's real easy to be dumb and not turn this off and touch it and zap yourself. I don't want to be responsible for that, and don't want to see anybody go through that. So don't play with electricity, and if you're going to experiment, you do a lot of research before you do it. I'm going to bend these downward, and maybe I'll just position them over. Let's just flip this around. Kind of swap places here. And this one, I think I'll twist this one up to get some height, a little additional height, and then that way these little guys can flail about over here. All right, so I think maybe this will work. This one's definitely going to be too low. All right, we're gonna roll with that. Try it again. Put my tea bottle cap back on and turn the vacuum on. Check that out. It's not doing anything because I need to take my washable blue clair, bright blue, azul luminoso jerry rig adapter right here and plug it into my other jerry rig adapter right here. See that? Ooh, baby. That just fits right inside. Look how snug that is. And it's a perfect vacuum. See, I make do with what I have. I like the phrase "one man's trash is another man's treasure." So I like to reuse things if I can, and not spend money, because that doesn't come around all the time. All right, so now we're pulling a vacuum. Here we go. 3,000, 10,000. Sorry, the focus kind of sucks right now. Getting those bends in the plastic. I need to find a glass container. It's just bouncing up the side of that glass wall that has clay on it. I know it looks fancy, but that's all that's happening. I see that electrode on the far north side. It is discharging to the ground, and it's essentially a little ball of copper, it looks like, just turned into a spiral, melted at the end, and it seems to be just rotating around that little metal spiral that it created. Condensing all on the inside. It's generating some massive moisture in the air. Of course, it's hot and moist where I'm at right now too. So, but again, this is sucking a vacuum. So, I don't know. condensing all on the inside. It's generating some massive moisture in the air. Of course, it's hot and moist where I'm at right now too. So, but again, this is sucking a vacuum. So. Seems like they move the same way, whether it's high pressure or low pressure. Electricity don't care. So if this was happening on a much bigger scale, and let's just say this was something that was miles wide, and you're a human, and you see something like this in the distant sky, would you not freak out and tell stories? And oh man, I'd freak out. I would be scared. Especially if I watch somebody vaporize in front of me. Well, it's getting kind of difficult to see. I can see that material moving around in there. Maybe it is more dramatic with the vacuum. Clean this moisture out of here. You know, from the top, maybe I can get it this way. I can't get it with the camera, but if you could see it from my point of view in real life, there is a glowing river channel in the middle of that big blob that you're seeing right now. Oh, Look, you can see that, oh, it was kind of in the filament stream for a minute. But in that big glowing blob, I can see a defined, it looks just like a river system going through it. Pretty awesome. Whew, this plastic is getting hot too. It's getting hot in there. Look, that other one's glowing. So, let me try to turn the lights on. Overhead. Look at all that moisture in there. Wow. See that? Look. Can you even see in there? No. Whoa. So, this is with the vacuum. Look, you can see all that coming out. It's pulling moisture out, but that's how much it's vaporizing right now. Oh, you can see it in there. Something's burning. It seems like it's actually burning now. Now, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kill the discharge. Woo! So let's kill this vacuum too. And let's open this guy up. Look at all that coming out. Bad feeling. I hope this is not true, but I have a bad feeling that the glass on the underneath side got so hot it melted through the plastic container it was sitting on. Really scared to touch that because I think it's hot. Because I feel the heat coming out. What do you think? It's not that bad. Oh, it is hot. Okay, well, I'll pull it out in a second. On the bottom, that's good. But what I see, I think, is the 10,000 and the 3,000 joined. So those electrodes fused together. They made a current right through that sheath. It's just speaker cable I'm using. It's not even the right cable I should be using. Excellent. All right, well, let's take a look at this guy. I'll put it up here on the light. Take a look at this. All right, so you can see the path it kept taking, switching back and forth over here, and that discharge over here. That's interesting too. You can see where those electrodes, that might have been just from me moving those around actually. I have to go back and look at the footage to see for sure, but. All right, again, organizing material, leaving all these weird patterns in the ground. Lots of divots and pockets. I mean, that looks like something out of the desert to me. I don't know about you. You can see the pieces that were kind of blasted out from that moisture underneath, exploding out. This is kind of the remnants of what we saw earlier, those little black bubbles. And got that guy. Huh. So, it's pretty cool. We just got an alert, there's going to be more rain. That's excellent. Let's see if we can get a better angle here. Ooh, that's warm on that. Oh, whoa, it's way warm on that side. Wow. Oh, huh. So the parts with the dark clay where the water still remains is the hot part. It's not nearly as hot where it's dry. That's interesting. It's pretty cool. Oh, I don't see anything on the bottom. I don't see anything that tells me anything on the bottom. It's pretty much getting hardened up. I could keep discharging to it and possibly form some more canyons in here and have some explosive stuff happen, but I think I'm done with this one. I tried a few variations and got my vacuum to work in the process and have both of my transformers working together. So now I just need to think about what I'm going to do next. All right, that's it for me. I'm hot. It's way hot here in Texas, even at night. Bye, y'all.